In today's global market, environmental regulations are becoming just as crucial as traditional trade rules. One major development is the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, or CBAM, introduced by the European Union. CBAM adds a carbon cost to imported goods like steel and aluminium based on the carbon emissions released during their production. For fastener manufacturers, this is especially important. Bolts, nuts, and screws are typically made from steel or aluminium, materials covered by CBAM. If you're importing these into the EU from a country without a strong carbon pricing system, you'll face additional costs. These costs are tied to the carbon emitted during the production of both the raw material and the manufacturing of the fastener itself. CBAM helps EU manufacturers stay competitive while encouraging global producers to adopt cleaner processes. For non-EU manufacturers, carbon tracking and transparency are now essential to doing business in Europe. To comply, importers must report emissions linked to their products and purchase CBAM certificates based on those emissions. CBAM cost calculation depends on three main factors: the weight of the goods in metric tons, the embedded emissions value, carbon emissions per ton, and the EU carbon price measured in euros per ton of CO2. The basic formula is weight times the emissions value times the EU carbon price. For example, 10 tons of fasteners times 2 tons of CO2 per ton times 70 euros per ton equals 1,400 euros. However, CBAM is being phased in gradually, while free emissions trading system allowances for EU producers are being phased out. To reflect this, a CBAM factor is used in the cost calculation. This factor represents the percentage of emissions that are actually subject to CBAM charges during the definitive period. There is a further factor to the calculation, that is the CBAM benchmark emissions value, currently the default EU emission values. By late 2026, early 2027, this will be based on verified, audited emissions data. In our example, let's assume a benchmark of 1.5 and a CBAM factor of 0.975. The updated formula becomes weight times the emissions value minus the benchmark value times the CBAM factor times the EU carbon price. For example, 10 tons of fasteners times the emission value of 2 per ton minus the emissions benchmark of 1.5 times the CBAM factor of 0.975 times the EU carbon price of 70 euros per ton would result in a CBAM cost of 376 euros and 25 cents. Looking ahead. Starting on January 1st, 2026, CBAM charges will be phased in gradually, alongside the reduction of free allowances. As the free allowances decrease over time, CBAM charges will progressively apply to a greater share of embedded emissions, reaching 100% by 2034. This gradual phase-in ensures importers have time to adapt to the new system, while aligning the CBAM tariff with the EU's broader climate objectives. For more information on CBAM and how it may affect your business, visit trfastenings.com/services/CBAM.